Hey, what's up? I'm Guy.
I'm John.
It's our YouTube channel. Subscribe to it and give this video a like.
Podcast below in the description. Check it out and do it now.
Mac Jones had his pro day. The 49ers were indeed there. Shanahan, John Lynch, as well as one of their scouts was there. I don't know if you saw that photo, but those were the three. And, you know, I think this is all part of the conversation. Smoke screen. Have they already decided? Is it still due diligence? Is this the guy they want? Are they trying to throw us off the scent? And so a lot of what happened, the Niners were the story of this pro day. The Niners of any team are the story of this pro day. When he misses a throw deep, they cut right to Shanahan. Genius. Really, that's genius directing there. But what did you think watching it of just the whole spectacle now of the 49ers being right in the middle of this thing with Mac Jones?
Well, I had an SEC scout that works for a non-playoff team who was headed to this pro day and said they got 13 dudes and probably 11 of them would start for us. Now, if the 49ers, maybe that number is not 11, maybe that number's 6, but that pro day was absolutely loaded with star talent. Like, they just won the national championship. They're the number one program in America, I'd say by a pretty wide margin. And the next group are elite as like Clemson, Ohio State. So it's not abnormal. I don't know. Did you notice Belichick, Sean Payton? Like they weren't alone, right? It's a big deal to go to the pro day. Now, the Mac Jones connection is not going to end. It's going to continue to be talked about. And it does make some sense. I have an overall take on Mac Jones, though, really quick, is that on social media, and because everyone kind of is terrified that Mac Jones is going to be the pick. I would not take Mac Jones at number 3. I think it's insanity to take Mac Jones at number 3. Let me put that on record. I would rather just trade a third-round pick for Sam Darnold. I mean, I would not draft Mac Jones at 3. I think that's insanity to trade what they did to go get Mac Jones at 3. I would not do it. But I also think he's being talked about like he is a scrub. This guy just started at Alabama, really, and backed up Tua, and it sounds like his teammates acted like he was better even when he was backing up. If that's true or not, I don't know. But when he played, he eviscerated everybody. And he's 6'4", 6'5". He's a legitimate NFL prospect. Now, again, I would not take him at 3, but I do feel like the internet is talking about him like he sucks. If Kyle did get him, I do think the best version of Mac Jones would be possible. Again, I would take one of the two other guys, but I think you just see like when he really pushes the ball downfield, he's got the Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins. It just takes more. He doesn't throw the ball like Justin Fields does, like Trey Lance does, like a Josh Allen, like a Justin Herbert. That ain't Mac Jones. Mac Jones is, to me, Matt Ryan is a kind of a good comp, right? I mean, even like a young. I'm not comparing to this player at all, but you said like part of the Tom Brady comparison is his body type. He just looks like at 21, 22, just not that many muscles, right? Just kind of flabby, tall, skinny white guy. Like that, It kind of looks like.
Yeah.
But Tom was a 6th-round pick.
Right. And that's where that comes from, I think, is that value, is that so much of what we talk about with the draft, particularly quarterbacks, is the value of it. And as you pointed out the other day, the guys that get drafted at the very, very top of the draft generally are not the guys that turn out to be the best players in the NFL at their positions. Now, there's no debating that. I think part of that recipe is that they go to bad teams, bad coaches, that Kyle Shanahan is abnormal. It's not normal that Kyle Shanahans are drafting 3rd and are taking a quarterback. But this is why I said the other day, like, this guy was a finalist for the Heisman and won a national championship. And by that standard, that doesn't change anything in the scouting report necessarily, because as you pointed out, Tebow won a Heisman. But it does tell you about the level of accomplishment that he has. Like when I watched his pro day, and like I think about, you and I talk about this a lot, I didn't need to see Peyton Manning in person to appreciate Peyton Manning. But when we went and saw the Broncos play the Raiders at the Coliseum, what did we do? We did the same thing we always do. The same thing you always did. The same thing I do when I do a baseball game or a basketball game. I go down to the field. I go down to the court. I stand by the batting cage. I stand on the sideline. You and I went to countless Warrior games pregame. We'd stand on the court. Why? Because I want to see what Vince Carter looks like up close shooting 45-foot threes as part of his warm-up. And I want to see what Peyton Manning looks and acts like from 3 feet away. There are things you can see when you're 5 feet away from a person that you don't notice on television. So I'd want all my guys. If my guys weren't going to pro days, I'd be pissed at them. So the fact that they're going to a pro day, but also the pro day doesn't matter, like those two things do coexist to me. That there's not nothing there. And I thought watching Mac Jones at his pro day, he had a lot of the characteristics just watching him on television that people say he has. And I think it's probably kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. You don't become Alabama's starting quarterback and win a national championship and have the respect of the best wide receivers in the country, the best running back in the country, the best center, one of the best centers in the country, and Nick Saban if you're a chump. So when people say his floor is high, or I think like you said, he's the safest pick, okay. Maybe the safest pick that the Niners could make, not counting Trevor Lawrence. But nothing is safe. Nothing is safe to the point that if I said to you right now, you can either have Matt Ryan in this draft or roll the dice. You might say roll the dice. You did everything you did.
I would 100%
roll the dice.
say
But here's the
roll
problem. The odds are not good that Trey Lance or Justin Fields or Mac Jones or Zach Wilson, that any one of them puts together the career that Matt Ryan just did. The odds are against the collective, not just the individual, like the collective. The odds are just not good that one of them has Matt Ryan's career.
I'd push back on
especially
that
Matt Ryan's career
because most years in the top 10, like 2 quarterbacks go, not 5.
So
the numbers are going to be higher. I think it's going to be
maybe the game has changed, but Matt Ryan before Kyle Shanahan left was 11 wins, 13 wins, 10 wins, 13 wins, 11 wins, and then 10 wins in his year with Sark. His floor was 4 wins, 6 wins, 9 wins, 8 wins. He never led the league in touchdowns.
Here's the one thing I'll say about Matt Ryan, though, Guy. Looking at, like, he's a 4-time Pro Bowler, and the MVP year came in 16. Kyle inherited a guy that had been to multiple Pro Bowls. You know, like, he was good when Kyle, like, Matt Ryan ultimately was a top 3 pick, right? A Pro Bowl level player. Like, he was, a higher end pocket quarterback, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the reason you would roll the dice, I think you're right to say you would roll the dice, is because that guy can't carry you to a Super Bowl, right? He can't do what Kyle Shanahan said in his press conference Monday. He's not a top 5 quarterback. And if you don't have a top 5 quarterback, then you're always a little bit nervous. That was basically what Shanahan said.
Why I don't believe that you can take Mac Jones, because I don't believe like people that say, like when Jerry Jones says, I took every penny I had, I invested in the Cowboys. Like some of the greatest business deals ever always come from like, I had to take out this loan. If it didn't work, it was over. Like I was totally swinging for the fences. This would feel a little bit like they emptied their savings account to trade up. And instead of like investing in something that had a super high upside but could also fail, those sleepless nights, they just kind of took the safe, like they invested in like an ETF. And be like, what? That's where I keep coming back to, why I just can't buy it. They valued that many picks for this individual seems like insanity to me. And I'm defending him. Like I think he could easily just be, if he goes to the right place, a solid player. Like maybe make a couple Pro Bowls throughout his career. But part of trading up to the top is putting yourself in position to hit the home run. Like you are now in the batter's box with a hitter's count. And it'd be like you take. It'd be like you're just waiting for, like, you got to fucking swing. And that's where I think this narrative getting pushed out, which is believable, it's hard for me to wrap my head around. We'll talk about Kyle's, what he talked about yesterday, that they came to the conclusion, and the right conclusion, that it was worth doing all this to just get to 3, whether they have the guy circled, whether you don't believe, whatever, to then go this safe route. That seems kind of like an oxymoron to me. It seems like they're on polar opposite sides of the one move and then the opposite move once you get there. I would struggle with that one.
Yeah, that what you just said makes a lot of sense. Like but I guess the counter, if I was going to play devil's advocate, you'd say, well, you don't, because you're drafting the safe quarterback, you view trading the 2 ones as not a risk because you think you're doing something safe. But I'm with you. You're saying if you're going to take a big swing, don't decide when you step up to swing for the fences and then halfway through the swing. Like, did you see Billy Horschel the other day?
Yeah.
Halfway through a swing, basically, like, didn't believe in what he was doing and hit one of the worst shots you'll ever see on tour. I mean, it was the second worst shot I've seen all year, up behind Bryson DeChambeau's shank.
I mean, you could see that shot happening at every public course in America right now. Right?
Honestly, he probably made better contact than most people do, but the result was
bad.
But it was a mistake, it was a mistake of changing his decision, of not being committed. So I do wonder, listening to you talk, I just wonder, are the Niners so committed to what they did because they believe that's the guy and it's going to be safe, that it's not as risky as it looks right now? That's not the way Kyle talked. We'll get to some what Kyle said about risk. I wonder if anything, like you've been in does any player actually feel safe when you're the one drafting him?
No. I would say
safe
Trevor
is not safe.
I'd even say think about Trevor Lawrence has a little bit of a wild card in his coach has never coached in the league before. Like and I think no one would disagree that Urban, say what you want about his character and his fraud morals, he is an elite college football coach. Elite.
Yeah, but if I said right now you're the owner, you can either have Trevor Lawrence or Urban Meyer. Which do you choose?
Trevor Lawrence.
Right. Everybody does.
Yes. But we've just seen like great talents get overwhelmed, right? Because at least back to the luck comparison that we had the other day, they had been a double-digit win team for a decade. Peyton fucking cracks his neck. They're throwing, I don't even know, Orlovsky. I forget the quarterbacks. It feels like Orlovsky was on every shitty team. They throw him out there. It was still Reggie Wayne, Dwight Freeney, but their quarterback play, Peyton just ran everything. And then it comes out later, Bill Polian said in draft rooms, like, what's the point? He goes down, we're screwed. He was right. Then Andrew Luck gets there. It's not like Reggie Wayne, Dwight Freeney, all these guys forgot how to win. And they're like, okay, we got a capable quarterback. Boom, 10 wins, right? That's the opposite with the Jags. It's like DJ Charks. I don't even know. Some of these random dudes they got in the squad, that running back, I think an undrafted free agent that I remember playing in fantasy was pretty good. Those guys are they don't know what they're doing. Now they might be talented or whatever. Like, it's just, my point is that it's not inconceivable that after Trevor Lawrence's rookie year, we go, ooh, they went 6-11. That was a little harder than he thought, right?
Yeah.
Would you say they are more likely to win 6 games or 10 games next year, the Jags with Trevor Lawrence?
6.
Yeah, 100%.
You're right on Orlovsky. The other name you're trying to think of, Curtis Painter.
But I going back, and you brought that up the other day, that's one of the biggest outlier shitty teams ever, right? They end up at 1. They were terrible, but it was like, it turns out their quarterback just ran their franchise.
Right, but that's right. But I brought it up in the Niners Kyle Shanahan. The Niners are an outlier. They weren't good, but they weren't 3 wins. Like, you just don't end up.
The difference is the Colts won 2 and drafted 1. The Niners were at 12. Like, it just honestly, when Peyton Manning, like the Hall of Fame, and he's going in this year, that's part of his legacy. It's like, this guy disappeared for a year. They were the far and away the number 1 overall pick. Remember that year? It was so bad. I mean, it was like, this is a joke. It was crazy. Everyone got fired. But it wasn't even anyone's fault. It was just like, yeah, it's Peyton. We're in the business of Peyton.
Yeah.
And then the irony is he left. But that's like the Niners.
Left because the guy you drafted was the guy.
The Niners are kind of like that, but I'd say like Reggie Wayne's and Dwight. Those guys have been winning for 10 years. Niners had 1 winning season.
I don't buy if you draft Mac, your thinking is that he's the safest pick. I think your thinking is he is going to be better than these other 2 guys. That's what your thinking has to be. I don't think you can think of it. I don't think Kyle, if he drafts Mac Jones, and we're sitting here doing this after he's drafted Mac Jones, and we're peeling ourselves off the floor, I don't think the thinking will be it's because it's safe. I think the thinking will be, I think he'll be a better quarterback than Trey Lance or Justin Fields. And the reason I say that is, again, what Kyle said Monday. Like, Kyle is not under the illusion that a mediocre quarterback can carry football teams just because Kyle calls great plays. And we'll get to this, but it gets you to the same conclusion. Drafting Mac Jones because you think he's safe, or drafting him because you think he's the best quarterback, gets you to the same place, and it might be the wrong decision for different reasons. But I think he would draft him because he thinks he's going to be a better quarterback than Justin Fields or Trey Lance.
My main issue would be, Kyle, Eagles were clearly open to trading to 12, right? They literally just did it. I would have traded 1 pick to get to 6, the fucking deal that the Dolphins did, and got Mac Jones at 6, because you cannot convince me that Mac Jones wouldn't have been there at 6. I'll never believe it till the day I die if they draft him at 3. I'll never believe it till the day I die. Just like Daniel Jones, I just don't believe that he would have been there at 17. But this is different. Like like Daniel Jones just has more physical ability than Mac Jones, for example, right? We saw Daniel Jones, was it last year or 2 years ago, when he was the fastest player in the league? Remember on that run on Thursday Night Football?
Yeah.
But whether that's true or not, it seems inconceivable. The one thing you would say about Mac, watching him, like, he does have some physical attributes that are interesting. Like, if I told you Kyle had got Mac Jones as a rookie, Daniel Jones, I bet people would be like, I bet think Daniel Jones okay. I bet Daniel Jones will look good. That's why, remember, Jay Gruden loved him, but they knew they were going to take Dwayne Haskins. I actually think in this offense, Daniel Jones, like Mac Jones, isn't even that good of an athlete. That's my issue. It's like, I'd rather have Sam Darnold. Like, just that's why I'd rather have this other guy. I got some takes on him.